Hi, it's Olga and it's the day 4 of my 25 Days of Christmas tutorial series. This time I'm going to come back to my favorite color combination, which is white and cream, and I'm going to create a bar-shaped card. There's also going to be one quick and simple bonus project, and that is an origami-inspired place card. Let's start with a bigger card. To create a card base, I'm going to need a piece of cream cardstock that is 6 by 7 inches. I'm placing it into my scoring board and I'm scoring it in half at 3 inches, and this way the entire card is going to be 3 by 7 inches. This elongated format is great for creating landscape scenes, and this is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm also going to need two 3 by 7 panels. One is cream and one is white. Then I'm going to use this plaid panel die. This one is from Card Builder panel die set by Paper Discovery. I'm centering it on a cream piece of cardstock, just making sure that I have the same distance to all the edges. Then I'm taping down the die and I'm going to send it through the die cutting machine. As always, you can find the tools and supplies that I'm using down below in the description box, as well as on my blog. I'm using the brush tool to clean out all the tiny negative die cuts, and then I'm going to attach this panel onto the card base. I'm applying the tape adhesive around the frame, and I'm also going to use a little bit of liquid glue in the center of the panel. I'm just making some tiny dots. Then I'm sticking down the panel onto the card base. It's exactly the same size. Since I used the same color cardstock, this background is not going to be too overwhelming, but at the same time it creates a lot of interest and texture. This rectangle is an outline die that comes with the panel. I'm centering it on a white panel, taping it down, and again I'm sending it through the die cutting machine to create a frame. So this is what the frame looks like, and now I'm going to start creating the scene inside this frame. I'm placing the frame onto the same color piece of white cardstock, and I'm going to use this die, which is a part of Village die set, also by Paper Discovery. Once I'm happy with its placement, I'm again taping it down and die cutting it. Once it's die cut, I'm going to use the scissors and cut it completely out. But before I attach this hillside shape to the frame, I'm going to stamp a sentiment. I'm placing my piece of cardstock inside the stamping tool in case I would want to stamp the same image twice or more, and I'm also adding that frame to know exactly where I should place the sentiment. I'm holding down my cardstock with the magnets just as usual, and then I'm going to use the word congratulations. This one is from the stamp set called Card Builder Sentiments. Instead of using black, I'm going to use the light brown ink, and the one I'm using is Rocky Shore by Altenew. The reason I chose this color is that the entire color scheme of my card is very subtle, and I didn't want to create too much contrast with the stamping and to draw too much attention to the sentiment. After all, it's not the focal point of my card, it's just an addition. To create my Christmas village scene, I'm going to use the houses from the Village die set. There are 9 of them included in the set, and I've die cut them out of white cardstock, and I'm also adding the background out of cream cardstock, and this way I'm going to color all the windows and doors a bit darker shade. I repeated this process for all the 9 houses, and now I'm going to start assembling my card. First, I'm applying some tape adhesive at the wrong side of my frame, at the bottom part of it, and I'm going to stick it down onto that hill shape that I have created. Then I went ahead and applied some double-sided foam tape at the wrong side of the frame all around it. I'm peeling off the liner and attaching the frame right onto the card. Now when the frame is on its place, all I have to do is to add my houses. I'm placing them down onto the card inside the frame, and I'm trying to position some of them behind the hill and some of them in front of the hill. This way I can create a lot of depth and perspective, although I'm using just one hill, not a few of them. The big advantage of creating this type of scenes out of a lot of small elements is that it is very forgiving. You can play around as much as you like with the elements. You can change your composition until you're completely happy with the result, and you can actually see the final result before you start gluing down all the houses. So now I'm sticking down some of the houses right onto the background using just a liquid glue, and with the other houses I'm attaching them in front of the hill, and I'm using both the liquid glue and the foam tape to level up everything. You see that this project is pretty easy to make, and I think it would be suitable even for beginners. I ended up using just 7 houses out of 9 for my card, so I decided to attach the remaining 2 houses inside the card. So that finishes this card, and you can see that this project turned out to be quite textured, but at the same time totally mailable. Although this card is an unusual format, it can fit into 5x7 envelope. And now I'm also going to show you the additional project I told you about in the beginning. Again, I'm going to need a 3x7 piece of white cardstock. I'm placing it onto my inch mat, and I'm creating the marks on the short sides. It's just 1/4 of an inch from one edge and 1/4 of an inch from the opposite edge. Then I'm placing my piece of cardstock into the paper trimmer, and I'm aligning both pencil marks with the cutting edge and cut. You could actually do without the pencil marks, just cut from corner to corner, but I didn't want to have those really sharp edges. Next, I'm going to do a little bit of very basic coloring. I'm aligning the longest side of this piece of cardstock with the straight line on the grid mat. Then I'm securing the cardstock with some pieces of washi tape. Then I'm going to attach a bigger piece of washi tape at 1/4 of an inch below that long edge of cardstock. This way I'm creating the mask. I'm going to use hickory smoke distress oxide ink, or you can use any kind of light gray ink, and I'm coloring that strip at the edge that I have masked off, and then I'm going to remove the tape. I'm going to clean the cutting mat, and then I'm going to flip over my piece of cardstock and repeat exactly the same process on the other side. I'm masking off this strip of cardstock at the very top again, and then I'm applying the same color ink with the sponge applicator. So the next step is going to be scoring. So I'm placing this piece of cardstock into the scoring board. Then I'm going to create the score lines at the following marks: 1/2 inch, 1 3/4, 3 1/2, and 5 3/4. You don't have to memorize all those measurements, you can see them on the screen in case you want to reproduce this project. You can also play with different measurements, but those are the ones that worked for me. Next, I'm going to fold this piece of cardstock zigzag-wise, following the crease lines that I have created. I'm using the bone folder to press down the folds. I would recommend to use medium weight cardstock for this project. The heavy-duty one is really harder to manipulate. Then I'm going to use the house from the very same set that I used for the card. I've die cut it out of silver mirror cardstock, created a white background, and now I'm sticking it down to the top of my hill. And this is how this zigzag shape turns into a hill with a road leading right to the house front door. All there is left to do is to write the guest names and your place cards are ready. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching. The project number 5 is coming out soon, so be sure to subscribe to my channel not to miss it out. Have a beautiful day.